Hi, my name is Hannah Bailey, and I'm going to talk to you about my intercultural communication experience. I attend a weekly international support group which helps international students compare cultures to America, from their culture to our culture. And it's actually started by my friend Alyssa Shiflett, who partnered with Tara Holiday, the suicide prevention coordinator on campus. And the main goal, honestly, the first semester it started was to help mostly the Asian students who didn't speak a lot of English to learn about America and learn how our culture is similar or different to their culture, and help explain the different holidays and stuff going around us during the different times of the year. Um, a couple of things I want to talk about today are some of the stuff that came up during the conversations that we had. For instance, in one meeting we talked about school days, not college school days, but typical high school, middle school, primary school days. In China, the students were telling us how their days actually were early in the morning to late at night, and they would get this chunk of the day, about an hour, 2 hours, break for lunch. And we thought that was interesting to think that you could stay at school all day and only get an hour for lunch and really just focus on studies. One of the girls even said that she kind of went to a somewhat like a boarding school and would go home every other Saturday and to see her family, but most of the time she spent from like 7 to 6 at night just doing homework and studying. Another conversation that we had was one of the guys from Kuwait. Actually, we were talking about relationships, and he was talking about how he had been in the States for a while and was trying to actually start a relationship with a girl, but didn't understand why he wasn't getting anywhere. And we had to explain the difference in a culture. He was saying how in Kuwait he didn't really have to even talk to the girl. He could just go up to their parents and be like, "Hey, I'm really interested in your daughter, and I would like to marry her." And you don't even really have to have communication between the two people. In my research, I did find that this is true. Like, you really just have to get the approval of the father to even marry a daughter in Kuwait and in most Muslim cultures. There was also he was telling us also that he could have, more than one wife. And in America, polygamy is seen as a negative and a con, and not in a very positive light due to the things that it's associated with. But in the Muslim faith, it's totally acceptable. You can legally marry up to 4 women, which I think is interesting because a woman cannot marry more than one man. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about was one of the guys from Saudi Arabia talked about how when he lost a family member, they wrap the body, wash the body, wrap it, and then they bury it and facing Mecca, which I think is interesting because everything in their daily life revolves around the faith and Mecca and Allah. And I thought it was also interesting that the family would stay in the house for 3 days and just be together and read from the Quran, and just have people would just bring them food. I thought that was so cool because in America we have the funeral and then sometimes a viewing before vigil, and then people will go then to that person's house or wherever, have like a reception like event, and people from the neighborhood might bring them food every once, for like a couple of days after the wedding or after the funeral. But it's interesting to think that the whole family would be in one house for 3 days just to think and reflect and pray for their loved one. I thought it was really interesting. Overall, I love interacting with people from different cultures and learning about different cultures. I think it really helps you to expand your mind, and it's great to know about what else is in the world.